All right, please be joined this time by Coach Fran Mahan, the defense coordinator at Harrison. Coach, thanks for joining me.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Was really flattered to get the invite and really excited to talk some football. And just thank you again for the invite and everything you do. I know with Parker Resources, we're using it a ton over at Harrison right now as well too. So which has been
Yeah,
great. We're really enjoying using it. So, but thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. So I really
yeah,
appreciate
thanks, Coach. We've heard a lot of good things about you when you're at Walton and now at Harrison. The guys that you work for always speak very highly of you, just so you know. And
that. Good to know.
I don't know that they would talk bad about you, but they just would say nothing if they had, and they always say something good. So I've been excited for this one. So I'm gonna get out of your way, Coach, and let you take over. But let's talk about a little 3-4 stunts, fit stuff like that.
Sounds good. So what the goal today is basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through kind of just like our basic fits and just some of our six basic stunts. Just kind of like for to be honest, it's a really good like day one, day two install. But it actually gets into some of the little things that we do that have actually evolved a lot of what I've done in the 3-4 in the past. Because we ran the 3-4 when I was at Riverwood for 3 years. And it's a lot of very similar things, but then yet, at Harrison, we've kind of taken it to the next level, which I really enjoy. And a lot of it actually is the fits that we do with our D line and our linebackers. Like our linebackers is not anything really radically different than what people are kind of really used to. But with our DNs and with our movements that we do with the D line, it's a little bit different, and it actually creates a lot of really big issues for offensive line and for fits and things like that. And it actually really kind of puts us in the best position, in my opinion, to be successful. So we've kind of, I think, gotten into a really good spot. So, but we're gonna get into sending our Mike, our Will, our Rover, and our dog, and we're going to get into sending two from each side. We're going to talk a little bit about our two read, our cover three, where we have a 3 weak and a 3 strong, and then a little bit of our cover one. Okay, so just some basic stuff, nothing too crazy. Obviously, 30 minutes can't get everything in, but we're really excited about it and really excited, like I said, about the opportunity. So, Pro Quick Draw, I swear by Pro Quick Draw. They're awesome. I've used them now for 2 years. I used them as a special teams coordinator when I was at Walton. It was extremely helpful. And then to be honest, and I've told my buddy over there, he's the offensive coordinator at Brookwood. Yeah, we saw each other in the second round last year. It wasn't fun. Or the first round last year wasn't fun. But we're really good buddies, and he got me onto Pro Quick Draw. And to be honest, if I didn't have had it my first year as a defensive coordinator, Harrison would have been a lot more challenging than it was. So it's a great resource, and I would highly recommend it. So, and you'll see some slides for it in a second. So now for us with our 3-4 at Harrison, with Hoya Way, basically what we do is we have, our linebackers in 20s. So we put our two inside linebackers, our Mike and Will, in 20 techniques. And they're there a massive majority of the time. Rarely will they walk out of those. There's only a few instances in our entire defense where they're going to be out. And then our nose, a massive majority of the time, our nose will be in a 0 technique and our ends will be in 5s. So you can see I took some little screenshots to see what we're talking about, but basically it's just, the normal look for the 3-4, nothing too crazy. Now we did change up where initially when I got to Harrison, we were running a lot of 4 techniques. We still do run 4 techniques. We do run a tight front. We do run other fronts as well too. But a massive majority of the time, this is our base defense. So this is what we're normally in. To show you kind of how it looks. So here would be just like an example of a Pro Quick Draw template, by the way, just a heads up. But you can see here on the left, we kind of have all of our responsibilities. But in our base defense, you can see we're playing those 5s. We're playing the 0 technique at nose. You can see our Mike and Will in 20 techniques. Our Rover and Dog are apexed at 5 to 6. And you see our corners and free and safeties are, basically we can see our corners back at boom over here 1x5 off of number 1, and then you can see over here leverage depends on the field position for our safeties, but they're going to be at 10. So right here, everything that we have is drawn up against 2x2. We call that spread. But we do obviously adapt things and have the ability to do what we do against the tight end as well too. But you can see here the covers is drawn up. This is our 2 read. So you can see here we're basically our corners. If you look down with the responsibilities, right, we're 1x12. We're looking at curl to out. Okay, obviously, if we get 2 vertical routes, we're going to run with those vertical routes. And then we're going to basically discuss what happens underneath, depending on game plan. So we can change that up every week. And here are Mike and Will. We have them playing hook to curl here, but we can obviously have one play a low middle hole and a high middle hole, almost Tampa Tui, with the one guy. So we can definitely play around and fiddle with what we do with our underneath covers too. So the cool thing about what we do is it's very adaptable. And then our biggest thing is that we preach, and this is something that I know we have to continue to get better at, is our disguise in the back end. We definitely want to be rolling down late. We want to be showing one thing and doing something else. And we definitely, according to game plan, want to be able to do more than we currently do with that. And that's something that we're working on in the off season. So, but now with our inside linebacker reads, like I said, it's nothing crazy. We're reading the first step of the guard, and then we're checking to the tackle. So we're always going to be upfield. We do not want any bucket steps. We want to be efficient. So basically, we want to be able to now go through then our run and pass reads after that. So like as a linebacker, I'm taking my first step, mirroring the step of the guard. And if I get a run read, I'm looking right to that tackle. And if I get down, I'm scraping. If I get down out, I'm screaming ISO and I'm getting downhill. And I'm taking everything on with the inside shoulder pad. If I get pulled, I'm pointing, I'm going pull, I'm pointing, and then I'm reading the fit now with my with the play side linebacker. If I get a pull out, I'm stacking the formation. Very similar to if I just get a reach step, which is then verified by my tackle, right? So just normal stuff, nothing too crazy with what we do at backers, but I try to make sure that it's simple so that we can play fast. And the biggest thing is we want to be able to read quick, get where we belong. And I always tell them, do not cross the midline for the backside backer until the ball crosses the midline. So that way ensures that we're not getting all messed up with like a split zone or something along those lines. So it actually slows us down a little bit, which is good. A good old saying that I got from one of my former colleagues, Jason Nash at South Forsyth, is that linebacker can drag his back toe. And so that's something that we preach a lot with our guys, so that they don't just run right across the formation, because we've all seen that happen, right? Where a guy runs across the formation, they cut back and where'd he go? Okay. And then it's 6. So we don't want to have that happen, obviously. So now with our reads, I just actually went through everything right here and just talked about it. But where our eyes are to begin with is obviously we're looking at linemen. We're reading that guard because linemen don't lie. In my experience, the backs are great. Yeah, you could read backs. I just don't think you can get as a reliable read from them. So that's why we rely on reading linemen, right? So now there's also simplified it. Like I basically went through most of your simplified reads except for a hi-hat read, which is passed a few seconds ago. But where our eyes go, and this is something that we do, is we have our triangles that we read. So here's like a great example. Our inside linebackers in the 2 and the 3 here, we can see they're reading this red triangle, right? And basically it's just our normal read our triangle that you've taught or that right? But what we're doing is we're getting our eyes about 1.5 to 2 yards behind the center's butt. But what we're doing while we're doing that is we're high beaming our guard, right? So this was basically, hey, my eyes go here. Where are you looking exactly with your peepers? Right there on the guard. But then that's where our head is located so we can see our entire triangle, right? And you can see then with our outside backers, it's the yellow triangle, right? They're looking basically right behind the tackle, right? And then you can see as well with their DBs, they're looking off the end man of line of scrimmage, right? So, but now, like I said, when we progress through our reads, first read is the guard, second read, we're going to the tackle. Now, with our D linemen, and this is some stuff that we do that's a little bit more unique. What I've actually done is I've taken a lot of the stuff that I've learned over time and kind of morphed it around a little bit to kind of help us out and put us in really good positions. So what happens is the normal blocking tree. So we get a base, a down, a reach, a high wall, right, a pass, our double teams, all those things. But what we teach our guys is they're reading tip of the shoulder pad. Right now, some people say hip. In my opinion, they're both fine. But you're reading the near tip of the shoulder pad or the near hip. If that's what you choose to teach, that's fine. But we just tip of the shoulder pad. And what we're doing is we're keying and we're reacting to what that shoulder pad does. Right. So we're going to defeat that block. Now, this is where things get a little bit different for us because it depends on what we're doing up front. So if you have a D end, let's say, because our nose guard, by the way, is just going to read the tip of the shoulder pad that he's supposed to be on, right? So if we're running, let's see here, if we're just, let's say we're just in our base defense, obviously, like we said earlier. So if we go back, Where in our base defense, you can see he's attacking that strong side shoulder of the center, right? So that would be the shoulder that he would read. Okay. And that's what he would react to. But now with our ends, that's kind of where things get interesting, right? So with our ends, if our ends have B gap responsibility, right? So if we want them to be B gap players. We just don't send them in the gap unless we want to, right? So if we're slanting them that way, they're reading the hip of the lineman they're going to, it's really easy. But when they're reading a block, this is where it gets really kind of cool. So what happens is they're in a 5. If you get a base block, boom. So a guy comes right to bases, boom. I'm going to get tick and cuff. I'm going to get my hands on. I'm going to get my hand extension, right? And then right when I read that, okay, if I have B gap responsibility, boom, I'm hopping into the B gap. It's like the old Nick Saban heavy technique. So what happens is now, and the reason why I love this is because it blunts the B gap. So we see a lot of RPO. A lot of teams that I've previously coached for, we saw a ton of RPOs. And one of the best ways to take away RPOs is to reduce that conflict with that outside linebacker by blunting the B gap, right? So that gives us the ability to do that. So if we get a base or an on block, we're getting a hand extension. If we have B gap responsibility, boom, we're getting into that B gap. Okay, we're just going to chuck them past and fold into there a little late, right? So that takes away that conflict for that outside backer. Then if we're a C gap player, all I do now is I'm tick and cuff and I suck air out of the gap and I work to keep my outside arm free. Right. And so that way, then if the ball breaks outside, boom, I come on up, I swallow them up. Also, because I'm a C gap player, I now have quarterback responsibility. Right. So when we get a base block, if I'm a B gap player, I'm doing that heavy technique into the B. If I'm a C gap player, I'm just sucking air out of the gap. Now with a down, and this is probably the reason why I like this the most, is that if we get a down block, now you're treating it like a traditional 5 technique. We're going to squeeze and spill. We squeeze and spill, and I'll show you some examples when we get into the video clips and things like that of the stunts, is you're going to be able to see that we squeeze really hard, we get our hands on, and that's something we have to continue to work on, is affecting the path of those tackles. But we want to shove them off of their path, get our eyes right when we see that down block. We're working to get tick and cuff. If we can't, we get cuff and hip. If we can't, we get hand on the hip with the one hand, and we squeeze that guy down, and we're looking right over top of his butt. And so if we see a puller, right, or someone to come to kick us out, we're going to shove, violent release with the hand. We're going to dip and rip up inside of the puller or the kick out guy, chip his thigh board with our shoulder, and we are going to wheel vertical. Right. And what happens is we're going to spill, because everything in our defense, we spill deeper and wider to our force players. Right. So what happens is that gives us that spill right there at the point of attack. And one thing that I don't like as much with, this is one reason why I like the 5s a lot more. With the 4s, we were having a lot of problems with our guys being able to play that 4 technique, because you're teaching them to attack inside shade, right? Get their hands inside and then try to squeeze and spill. They can't. So they're just basically pure B gap players there, and then you lose a spill. And I'm just a big fan, like I said, of spilling it deeper and wider and deeper and wider. And it gives us the ability to do that with this in our 5 technique. And it doesn't matter now, there's no heavy technique, because we're using that guy, regardless if I'm a B gap player or C gap player. I'm shoving that guy inside, and I can use him now to play the B gap, right? So I can actually play both gaps with him. So with a reach block, so now this is where, if we're playing a traditional 5 and I'm a C gap guy, right, I'm going to outreach the reacher and maintain contain. If I'm a B gap player, this is where it gets really fun, because it doesn't really matter if I'm a D end if I get reached, right? So the guy comes out, boom, I'm behind. That's okay. You're playing a lag technique. So what you do is you lag, boom, you're a B gap player, you keep your hands on the tackle and you run it flat. And you're going to see some examples when we watch the clips of where this actually puts us in really good position if somebody's running like outside zone, or the way that they block their inside zone looks a lot like outside zone, and they're not doing, basically where they're doubling. It's not like covered on covered. They're all stepping one way, which throws a lot of people off. This actually puts our guys in a really, really good position to make plays. So, and it really helps us with that ability in 5s to do this, where we have a heavy technique with the base, we have that lag technique with a reach, and then we can still squeeze and spill. So it cleans everything up really nice for us in our reads with our linebackers. And what it is, and again, it just enables us to play fast. And also, this is what suits our kids. You know, we don't have those guys right now. We're working on it. We'd love to. Obviously, we'd all love to have 3 boy dogs that you can put down there and you say, hey, you guys take care of the B gaps and nose bubble that guy back and cut the whole defense in half. We don't have those guys, right? We're going to move our guys, right? And that makes us really dangerous. But at the same time, we're catering to our kids, and that's what we have to do, right? So now with our movement rules, so when we're blitzing or we're stunting, right? Our linebacker is what we tell them. Okay, so great example I said here. So if our linebacker is blitzing, you read me the man that we're attacking. We're not reading the gap, right? So I said, for example, here. So if the Mike's blitzing off the edge, we're reading the hip of the tackle, right? So if, let's say we're running Mike angle, which is going to be the first blitz we're going to look at in a second, right? Well, actually, hold on. Let me just pull it ahead. So right here, we're running Mike angle, and we see pass, and we'll talk about why this is a dash line in a second. But we see pass, right? And we're going, okay? What happens now is I'm reading the hip of this tackle right here. So I'm reading his hip, right? If face shows, I've got to cross it. Now, that's not inside. I have to cross it to my gap. So face shows, that guy comes out and he comes to get me in pass pro. I've got to make a move and I've got to maintain my outside leverage, right? If butt shows, I'm off it. So let's say he goes down and they're running some kind of slide the other way. Butt shows, I'm right off his butt and I'm going, right? So with linebacker, what we do is face shows, cross it, butt shows, off it, right? And you can see, right? So face shows, cross it, butt shows, off it. Now, when we're moving D linemen, like I talked a little bit about earlier with our nose, what's happening is now we're thinking about taking a gap. So now if I'm moving my D line, now you're a pure B gap player. So let's say I'm running, we'll see. Well, actually, here's a good example. So let's say, I'm going to go ahead. I'll go back to all these clips. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So let's say we're running right here where we're running our rover angle, right? Well, our end knows that rover's going. Okay, so now he is a B gap player. So he's going to read the hip of the lineman he's going to. And in this instance, it would be the guard, right? So he's going to read the hip of the guard. So and when we do this, because we're taking a gap, okay, what we tell our guys, because they're taking a gap, okay, because they're taking a gap, we're telling them hip away, go off of the guard's butt, hip two, right? Attack him, tick and cuff, right? So if they come to engage you, go tick and cuff, right? If they go away, okay, you're literally going right off their butt down the heel line, right? So that's exactly what's happening in those instances, okay? So that's what we're telling our guys' eyes to be, okay? So now let's get into some of the stunts. So now we kind of see how we fit things and everything like that. Now let's start putting it together and give some examples, right? So right here, this is our Mike angle, right? Now notice this is a dashed line, okay? And this is a dashed line for a reason, because for us, this is what we call a read stunt, okay? So what's happening is our Mike is reading his guard, okay? If the guard does a normal run block. So if he bases, downs, reaches, pulls, anything like that, you are doing your normal run responsibility. Okay, so it doesn't even look like a stunt. And what happens is this end right here, okay, you can see the strong side end right here. When you look at the run responsibility, he is reading his block. So even though we have him going here, this is drawn up as if it was pass, right? So what happens is this Mike is reading it. Okay, if it is pass, the Mike goes. Okay, so it's like a little bit of a delay, right? So if it's run, he goes normal. So this end right here, right, he is reading his block. He gets a high hat read. He knows he is a B gap player. He has got to go, right? So if it's a blitz, right, that turns right into the stunt, bang, he's going right to the hip of that guard, okay? And you're going to see an example of it in a second, but we can see that Mike is reading it, and so is the end. So now if you get a run read, the end just reacts. So if he gets a base, boom, it's a heavy technique, right? Tick and cuff, he hops inside. He gets a reach, he's going to lag. He gets a down, he's going to squeeze and spill, right? So if he gets a pass, he knows, boom, I'm going right into that B gap that Mike's blitzing. The nose here is just attacking the hip of the guard, okay, because he's angling, so he's going away. Boom, he's going right to the hip of that guard. If that guard comes to hit him, just like we said, you're going to go tick, cuff, boom. If you get a double, you can corkscrew, you can bar stool, whatever we feel like is the best technique for that guy. And by the way, we do use a lot of different techniques with our doubles depending on our players. I really do like corkscrewing, but our guys are actually a little bit taller than I'm used to, which is nice. So we don't use it as much. But when I was like at Walton, we had a 5'7" nose guard who won first team all region because he used to just corkscrew right away, take out two guys, and just giggle at the bottom of the pile. So but he was really good, right? But the nose is going to go to the hip of the guard, and then if you look here, the end, so the end over here on the weak side is going to be reading his block, right? And you can see if it's pass, he's working outside. But again, base down reach, he's responding just like we said earlier, he's reading that block. Now, if you look in coverage, we're running a 2 read, right? So what's happening here now is, as you can see again back here, we're going deep half, curl to out, right? Our will is now playing that low middle hole, and our rovers and dogs are curl to flat, right? So nothing too crazy, right? But what happens here again is it looks like we're in max coverage. It looks like we're not sending, and then all of a sudden they get a high hat read, boom, we're going, right? And then we fiddle with these guys. So a lot of people ask about, well, what do you do with crossers and those things? It depends on game plan, right? Sometimes we'll hop them, sometimes we won't. It really depends on what we're going to see that week in game plan, and that's what we rep and practice, right? But we run a 2 read behind what we're doing here with the mic angle. So here's some film, right? So right here, what I like to do with the first one is this is a run read. So here's a great example of a run read. So now you can see right here, the D end is doing a great job spilling. So notice he knocks that tackle actually off of his path, which is great. It doesn't have to be much. See how he's just getting his foot up off of the ground? He doesn't have to take him and dig him out and send him to the center. That's not what we're looking for. Boom, he's getting his eyes on the hip. Now, what I'd like to see with this DN right here is see him get more vertical, right? I'd like to see him get more vertical there than basically just kind of going flat down the line. I want to see him spill and wheel vertical more at D end. And if you look, the linebacker is just doing his normal run read. Now, right here, he's getting down. So you see him scraping. I think he's a little loose on his scrape personally, right? He should appear a little bit tighter. Okay. And then our backside linebacker has to work on his hand by hand extend. Okay. But he's getting split zone. So he's not trying to run out of there too quick. Right. But he's getting that basically that step out, which is drawing him away. So you see up top. So, and like I said earlier, we don't want to be just flying across the midline. Right. But he's getting there late, but he does have to get better his hand by hand extend. My favorite block probably here is the top side D end. So if you see here, he's getting it on. So he's getting a base block. This guy's coming to engage him. Boom. He's hopping right into that B gap, right? He's feeling all that flow away, and he's getting flat down the heel line. Okay. A senior player for us, Ryan Nelson. It's going to be tough to replace him. He's really good. So he's coming flat down the line. Boom. Right in there on the play. Nose guard also doing a great job pinballing back, feeling the pressure. I'd still like to see him work a little bit flatter, right? So, but you see here, notice this just looks like a normal run play. This is 2 angle and it's a run. There's nothing that has changed, right? So now here's just the end zone shot. So you can see, notice just that knocking that tackle off doesn't take much. It's just getting him out of the path. So now our backer can get free. You see, I'd like to see him tighter on us, a little bit tighter on that scrape. So like we said, hand by hand extend here, but you can really see with this D end, watch, bang, boom, he sees it. He's right into that B gap right away because we practiced the heck out of that. Now here's a fun one. So now this is the pass. So now if you look at this, so now everything looks the same, right? Okay, right here we're getting 20p. Only thing I'd like to see is this joker needs to have his heels at 5. I don't know why he's at 4, right? So obviously we coached that up. So now here's the thing. Look here. So our end, right? So he's seeing that down block, but right away he sees that this isn't really a down block. It's not even a high wall. It's really just a bad pass pro, right? So he's feeling that, boom, and he's getting into his B gap. Now watch, the mic is delayed. See, I said, oh, pass, boom, go, bang, gets the quarterback, right? And by the way, he had 2 sacks in a row on the same play. So right after this, we sack him again. Same exact play call, didn't change anything. Literally just went SOS, okay? And then basically ran it again, and we got North Paulding all the way down, I think, to within the 5, right? So same play, same thing. So boom, and this Holden Trice here, he was a stud. So so he reads it, boom, hits his gap, and there we go. So you can see now he's supposed to go. There's the tackle. The tackle's disappeared. He's reading the hip of the tackle. He's not even fiddling with this joker over here because he doesn't have to, right? Now, obviously here, this is not what we want to be doing in our underneath coverage. He's got to get depth. So, and that's something we continue to work on with him, and we'll continue to work on with that guy in the off season, right? So we just got to get a little bit more depth there. So that is our Mike angle, right? So now here is our Will slant. Okay, so now it's the same thing, but now we're just running it to the weak side, right? So we can see here the Will is reading, okay? So that's why it's a dashed line. So if it is run, he's just doing his normal job. The DNs again, okay? Run, these two DNs are doing their normal job. They're reading their blocks, okay? They're either doing the heavy technique, lag technique, or they're squeezing and spilling. And if it's pass, he's going to be working contain. Nose is obviously going to the hip of the guard. He is now going to go inside, right? And we're going to blitz the Will, okay? So you can see now, same thing. To read, Mike's going to drop to the middle hole, or like I said, whatever depth, depending on what our game plan is, right? So if you notice, it's basically just the same stunt, but to the other way, right? So now just a little bit of film on it. So you can see here, this is going to be the run one first. Okay, now it's going to be coming, we're going to be going, so we're going to our left here because it's slant. You can see the top side D end. He needs to get his hands on. So we'll do the end zone shot here. So you can see here, watch 82. He doesn't get his hands on. He needs to squeeze and spill that guy. See how he just hops? Shouldn't be hopping like that. Boom, he should be squeezing and spilling. Now notice he doesn't do a bad job of getting inside of this puller, but he's got to get vertical off of it, right? So he needs to get more vertical off of it. The nose guard is obviously wreaking havoc, right? So he's wreaking havoc. Now imagine what it would look like if he had a little bit better hand extension, right? But he is just wreaking havoc. So notice he sees that face, and this is what I'm talking about. Notice this face shows, and look what he does to him, right? Boom, bang. Okay, face shows, you're trying to throw him inside. If the butt would have shown, he would have gone right off of his butt. So, and you can see he just literally, it's like a train coming down the tracks. Now this D end on the top side, right? He's getting a high wall, so he needs to work to get into that gap. But he's thinking, for some reason, he's thinking pass, right? But obviously this is a high wall, and this is something we coached him up on is, dude, you got to get into the B gap, right? This guy right here has contain, you don't, right? So now notice linebackers are just reading their keys, right? He's getting down, so he's scraping. Okay, I'd like to see him go a little bit quicker on that scrape and appear with more bad intentions, right? But then again, like I said, we've got to work on our hand by hand extend with this backside backer. He's getting pull. He should be pointing. He's not pointing, right? And he should be pointing right here. Pull, boom. But obviously he gets waylaid by this guy because he's not doing his job, right? So if our D end gets his hands on, squeezes that guy down, he's completely scot-free, and he's able to then pick the pocket of the play side linebacker right here, right? So, but again, like I said, this is our Will slant, right? So, and we're basically just sitting there and we're reading because it's a run, right? Okay. Now, like I said, as you can see, the nose guard wreaks pretty good havoc. We pop the ball out. Okay. Number 9 recovers it. This is a huge play for us. This is against Pebblebrook. Our guy, I guess he was used to getting in an open field and running away from people, but not against them. No. So, but it was a big play for us and kept us in that game, which was great. So now here's the pass. So if you notice here, this is the Will linebacker right here. Okay, and he's on that little bit of a delay. Now, the only thing that I don't like is see how he steps back. There's no reason for him to slow down like that, right? So he's going to step, hi-hat, he should go. There shouldn't be that delay. Now, however, he gets home and does a great job. You can see the DN is also working to get his butt inside into the B gap. Nose guard is working on his pass rush. Boom, boom. And we can see 99 is doing a decent job getting to that depth of the quarterback and then trying to work back up in. Just got to keep working on his hand extension. So, but you can see the delay. No one sees him. The linemen don't even see him coming because we're reading it, and they're so focused on our 3 down that they don't see the Will linebacker coming. I would like to see, obviously, this might get a little bit more depth, but we're communicating on crossers here. They're running mesh, it looks like, right? So running mesh. So, yep. So he's communicating, right? And he does communicate with the crosser, but he's got to stick with him, right? So, but you can see the linemen don't even see him coming because of that little delay. So they're so focused, boom, on everybody else on those 3 down that there comes the linebacker and they don't even see him. So now here is our rover slant. So our rover angle, sorry, misspoke. So now what we're seeing is we're changing up our coverage, right? And we're changing up who's going, right? So instead of an inside backer going now we're sending our outside backer. So our strong side outside backer is our rover, right? So he's going to go here. And now, since, like I said earlier, he is actually going, right? There's no question about whether he's going or not, right? He's coming off the edge. Now this end can be a B gap player, right? So he's going to get to the hip of the guard. Nose is getting to the hip of this guard, right? And now you're reading, right? So you're going to read your block. Now the coverage, as you can see, the rover's coming off the edge. What we're now playing is we are in like a country cover 3, right? So we call it 3 strong because it tells our strong safety. Guess what? You're slamming down into the box here. So what happens? We got deep third, deep third, deep third, right? Curl, flat, hook, curl. And we're just pulling these 4 jokers right here on a string. Right. So that's all we're doing. Nothing too crazy. But what happens is this disrupts really well. So like I said, again, this is the rover angle. So here's a great example. Not as many examples of this one because there's not this run. Oh, by the way, yes, this is a solid line because he is going. There is no read. So when we call his number, he is going. There is no read stunt for this. Right. So when we say rover angle, you're gone. So here, this is against Hillgrove. Okay, you can see they're in tray. Boom. Beautiful job by the rover. He's coming flat right down the heel line. So notice no face shows, butt shows. He's right off of it. Boom, flat down the line of scrimmage. Beautiful, right? And now you can see the lineman. Now you can see here he's working into that gap. Okay, I'd like to see him get into the B gap actually, because notice now these 2 guys can just do what they do, right? The 2 inside linebackers just read their keys. So now, you know, he's going to basically be that C gap player for us, right? So that I'd like to see that D end up here get into that B more. Now, if you notice, the nose guard is just bubbling this guy back. He should be, though, getting to the hip of the guard, right? So he should actually be here feeling that pressure working back. Now he does a great job of putting lipstick on a pig and just getting penetration, right? And redefining the line of scrimmage at the heel line. Now, if you look here, he's the one reading. This DN's reading his block, so he's getting a reach. So notice he's trying to lag, but he needs to get his hand extension. So he's feeling that double team. He's spinning out of it. What he should do is bang, boom, get hand extension, tick and cuff on that guy, barstool in, try to resist that better. And that's something we continue to work with him. So now right here, so now you can see, now we've changed it to now this is dog slant. So notice now this would be 3 weak, right? So this is 3 weak. So now we see our strong safety is coming down into the box. We're playing cover 3 behind it, pulling these 4 guys underneath on a string. Okay. And now we know, because it's a solid line, he is going. There's no read at all, right? So we are running right here, like I said, dog slant. So we can see the line slanting. This end right here is reading his block. He's attacking the hip of the guard. He's attacking the hip of the guard, and he's reading the hip right here of the tackle, right? So here they actually run opposite. This is Pebblebrook again. You can see we do a great job reading it with our front side linebacker. I'd like to see this end right here. See how he's getting it down? I want to get the thigh board of that sniffer and get a little bit more vertical off of it. He's too high. But notice just him doing that forces the guard to bubble. So now our linebacker, he's doing the right thing. He's trying to spill, but he's getting there early and he sees the ball carrier. And one thing that I've always taught our linemen on counter and our linebackers on counter, this is obvious that, but if we do see something along those lines and the back is out in front of one of the pullers, go get the back. Don't try to spill that second guy, right? So he's seeing this, he sees the back outside, he's going, boom. And like I said, again, we've got to continue to work with our backside guy on hand by hand extent, right? And then again, too, notice he's not getting his hands. You can see this D end is not doing a great job in this game of getting his hands on the tackle, right? So again, boom, waylaying our linebacker, and then there's that guy that's supposed to be picking the pocket of this backer. So what should happen is he squeezes and spills. He spills this first guy. That guy comes in and cleans it up, right? But that's obviously not what happened, right? But I said there's a great example of dog slant. Now here is now we're running our 2-man stunts, okay, and we call this one Hoya, right? So we're sending our 2 strong side guys. So we're sending our rover and our Mike, Okay. Now notice this is really very similar to, like we talked about earlier, Mike Angle. The only difference is now where we're basically combining together Mike Angle, right, and Rover Angle, right? We're sending them both. Now notice the Mike is actually reading. So if it is a run, the Mike is doing his normal job. If it is a pass, he is the guy that's coming to swallow up with contain. So right here, the Rover can be flat down the heel line, spill everything. He does not have containment responsibilities. He can go headhunt the ball or headhunt the quarterback, and he can have a blast. Now, the only change is you can see here the end now is a long sticking all the way to the A gap, right? So our guys are pretty big, pretty tall. They pretty quick off the ball. They do a really great job of getting down to the A gap, but if they're struggling, we can stem into it and go, right? You notice the nose is doing what he normally does, right? He's getting right to the hip of the guard, and then this end is going to be reading his block. Now behind it, you can see here now we're still running our 3 strong, right? So our 3 strong, right? So that strong safety is jamming into the box, but notice now it's 3 over, 3 underneath coverage, right? So now these guys are more, like we said before, like, those curled flat players, right? They're going to also be wall guys here, right? And then he's definitely going to be more of a middle hole guy, right? Okay, so and then crossers and things like that. Like I said, again, we'll game plan for those things. So what happens here, though, is like I said with Hoya, that Rover is going. Okay, if it is passed, that Mike is now coming off the edge, right? So here's a great example of it. You can see top side. Now this is actually a lot of fun. So here you can see there comes right there. There goes the Rover. Boom. Now notice he's actually, they kick out to him. So let's see if we can get, oh, great end zone shot. Yeah. So now watch. So here comes the Rover. He's walking up, right? We're going to long stick that end all the way in. Now they know he's coming. So you can see it. Okay. They're going to fan. Oh, great. They fan, right? So you see it. They fan for him. All right. So they fan for him. Boom. They pick him up. We're trying to long stick all the way down to that A. Obviously, this guy's got to do a better job of getting to the hip of the center. But here's the thing, okay? Now the back doesn't know to get, and the back doesn't really know that we're coming. So now originally you can see the way it's drawn up is, oh, okay, well, coach, your Mike's supposed to come off the edge. Well, but think about this. They've picked our guy up, and we tell our guys all the time, don't be robots, be football players, right? So the thing is they picked him up. Okay, he has contained, right? His outside arm is free. You go down the pipe now. You take his job, right? So they picked him up. He's going to have contained the quarterback. Boom, and he goes right through like a train. Okay, this is beautiful. Boom, 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 bang, right? And it's just awesome. And you can see the top side DN, bang, he's getting that, just working to get depth. And look at him pull inside. That's a great job here. It's not pretty, but he gets the job done. I'd like to see him at a 3-point. Get that hand extension, boom. You see him not giving up, boom. Okay, that's just a great job. Okay. Now, one other thing that we'll couple this with too is so you saw our 3 strong, we also get into cover 1. So we can also get into a man free with this. So now you can see now we're manning up. Okay. And so now we're sending that Mike and the Rover, but now we're playing cover 1, right? So that's the only real adjustment is that the stun is the same, but here's a great example. We're up pressing and boom, you can now see outside backer. He's going, it's run, right? Bang, flat down the line. And you can see our Mike is just reading his keys. He's getting down, boom. And look at that, just like a missile. Right. So this is great. And by the way, I think what is this 3rd and 1, right? And we stuff them. So it's a great job. Okay, right there of getting that done. Right. And you can see here we're long sticking down. Look at the nose. The nose is just getting penetration right away and just killing them. Right. So that's a really, really good job. And what we do now is, like I said, is key is disguise, right? So this is earlier in the year. This is South Forsyth when we played them. I think this was week 2, right? So one thing we kept talking about is, guys, you got to disguise. Everybody and their uncle in America knows we're in man coverage, right? So let's do a better job of disguising it and not letting them know when we're in it, because that's then when people start to do all the crazy stuff that you see in man, a la what happened to the Eagles in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And by the way, that hurt because I am an Eagles fan. I'm from Philadelphia. But that's why, you have to do a better job of disguising, right? And that's something that we just continue to address throughout the year and that we continue to address now. So, and here's our last stunt. So this is, let's see here, Bulldog. So Bulldog now is we are sending both of our guys now from the weak side. So you can see here, this is our cover 3 behind it. So this is 3 weak, but again, it's that 3 over 3 under look. We can see the will now. he is actually read stunting. So if it is a run, he's just doing his job, right? If it is a pass, he is going, right? The dog is going off the edge. Really, the only change for the line, again, is that end to that side. He is a long sticking all the way down to the A gap, right? And then we can also, you'll see in a second, we can couple this as well with man free. So, or cover one, like we like to call it. So we see the creep. There he goes. Now they're running it opposite. Okay. So you can see here, we're trying to get into that A gap. It's got to do a better job getting down there. You got a puller, right? And here's the thing. This should have been nice and cleaned up. By the way, this D end, let's look at it from the end zone. So you can see the D end's reading right here, right? So that D end's attacking. Boom. He's got to get his hands on more. Okay. So notice we're still working on that. This is the next week after Pebblebrook, right? We can see he's actually getting his hands on now, but he's got to get more violent with his hands, right? And what happens is he's squeezing and spilling. So you can see now he's going after both their pullers because you can see he's behind both, right? And then what happens now is this linebacker's got to come up and spill, and he gets stuck a little bit in the wash. Now, also, this outside linebacker here has got to get into the box a little bit quicker to assist, right? And then we got to clean this up. So we got to do a better job there. So notice it wasn't a great play. They're not all pretty. 3-yard gain, so not too bad, but obviously we would love to see a negative play. Right. So then now this would be the bulldog out of man free. So you can see here now our cover one. So, and then here would be a great example of it. So this is against Denmark. Now notice this is one I love, because this guy totally messes up. He gave up in this game. He did this twice. So you can see the outside linebacker is going right here. So here comes the dog. Boom. Remember, he's freed up now. He doesn't have contain, but he has a kill shot. Okay, I'll move this out of the way. He has a kill shot on the quarterback. I mean, an absolute kill shot on the quarterback. Like the quarterback's helmet should have been facing a different direction, right? So he is right there. Boom. If he just gets upfield shoulder, he kills him. And I get it. He is taught flat down the line, but this is a clear pass read. Oh, go get him. And now watch. So now you think, oh, okay, well, here comes that other linebacker going over here. Yeah, well, yeah, because he's in man coverage. But notice here's the will, and he's on his delay. And then watch what the will does. Hems him up. Okay, right? And I think this was a 3rd down. Now 1st and 10, right? So now they're into 2nd and long, right? So which is great for us. So we won that down. And then there's actually a later play where the same thing happens again. Like I told you again, we struggled with this guy getting him down. But then he came up and made the tackle, and there was actually a penalty on her for a hold on him as well, too. So now they were into big time negative plays, right? So, but it's really, really effective. And again, you can see we're working on that disguise, trying to roll into a little bit later. But again, we're showing that one high too soon. And again, this is, all pre-region play. And we finally kind of start getting that disguise and everything to where we needed it to be by that point. So, but yeah, so that is Bulldog, right? So those are our really kind of just a lot of our day one, day 2 install things. But again, we do a couple unique things I think that are pretty cool with our DNs and then with those read stunts that help us out a lot. So, and they've served us pretty well. So,
yeah, Coach, that was awesome, man. Thanks. That was exactly what I thought we'd get out of that. Very thorough, very specific, and you guys got better as the year went on. I thought.
Oh yeah, I mean, light years better by the end of the year, because you know how it is. We were a very young team. Like a lot of people don't know that we were playing Colquitt in the 2nd round with 6 seniors playing.
Yeah.
And we gave them a game, and it was one of those where you watch those films, you're like, man, we got our butt kicked. And then we went back, and I realized there were really only 3 plays that we were like 6 inches out of position, and they were just that good that they made us pay for it.
Yeah.
And you know how it is when you face a team like that, they make you pay the piper. But we were just really proud of our kids, and they just got consistently better as the year went on. Like a lot of people don't know this. We went from 60 missed tackles in game 1 against South Paulding to the 2nd round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it was just, because coaches coached their butts off and the players played their butts off, and it was great. And they bought in, and we kind of figured out our identity about halfway through the season.
Right. Anytime we can get a Jason Nash reference, that was a good podcast.
Well, I worked with him for 2 years at South Forsyth, so I got no complaints.
Coach, I appreciate you taking some time to do this, man. I really do. And if I can ever help you guys out, let me know. I think a lot of you guys. all of it.
Sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate it. You got any questions or anything?
No, that was great, man. I love it. If I
Okay.
was coaching, I'd be running that 3-4 just like that. You can defend a little
Good
bit.
to know.
Yeah, man. If I can help you guys out, let me know.
Sounds
Take
great.
care.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
See you.